Ready?
Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new Techish 2025 predictions. I am half of your hosting duo, Abadesi of Hustle Crew, joined with
Michael and CEO of Pocket and Pocket Jabs. Let's go.
only a few weeks left in the year.
Where has the time gone?
I don't know.
Should we do like reflections and then predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
So reflections for the year gone by. I think it's been a tough year for a lot of people. I don't think there's been a harder environment to probably get a job. I would say like a lot of people I know have just
Tell me
like
about it.
been looking for work for ages. The tech layoffs obviously carried on and continued throughout the year. So the tech industry is kind of cooked.
Q4 is becoming layoff season. Q1's becoming layoff. To be honest, it's always
Every Q is a
season.
layoff. You see Q, just think layoff in it. Q layoff. And then obviously on top of that, living standards is peak. You know what I mean? The cost of groceries is not what they used to be.
Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult. And then I think the major change for me, having been in the tech industry for a minute, is the relationship the industry has with software engineers, in the sense that when I first got into the game, there was almost like an unlimited demand for engineers, and there wasn't enough.
Yeah.
You could have just walked in there, done a 6-week boot camp, and there's a chance you would end up with a cushy job.
Yeah.
2 years time, you're on 6 figures, or 1 year's time, you're on 6 figures. Some
Yeah.
people are even walking into 6 figures after a boot camp. That is completely gone. I just saw a clip of a job fair, and it was looking like, it just looked like a madness. People were just pushing and shoving and whatever to get in. And I think they were all comp sci grads, or at least like recent comp sci grads.
Yeah.
So, and that's twofold. One, obviously, supply and demand. The demand has gone down, but at the same time, this is the additional factor because that can happen in a lot of roles.
True.
Overheating, then then demand goes down. But it's combination with AI. So it's like demand has gone down.
Oh Lord.
Then at the same time, the
True.
job of a mid-level engineer is changed because if you're working in tandem with a lot of these AI tools, you're much more productive. You know, maybe I would say I'm probably like at least 1.7% more productive as a developer, right?
Wow.
And I think that's the low end. I think there are really great engineers that are probably 5 times more
5x,
productive. Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
right? So it's like you can write so much more code. You don't need to hire. So demand has gone down. Also, the value of your skill set probably has gone down slightly as well. So it's like double whammy. So now it's like I look at our job board, the Pocket job board, and I don't see that many software engineer roles. Where it used to be that was the thing. And then I'm talking to companies, and like they might want to do a meetup or a mixer or whatever. And I'm like, we can get engineers in the room. I'm still working off that 2016, 17, 18, 19. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. I'm like, wow.
Wow.
So that's changed. So that's one of the biggest changes I think I've seen and my reflections of this year. That's kind of the employee landscape. Entrepreneur, do you have any reflections as an entrepreneur in 2024?
Do you know what? I think one big reflection of 2024 is that if you were not a content creator before, you are definitely a
camera out,
content
guys.
creator now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how you were getting leads before. I don't care how you were selling, but literally everyone I know is on the content game, like in
Has
a
a podcast
crazy
as well.
way.
We're like grandparent podcasters. It's crazy.
We are.
Yeah, we're
like,
ahead of the curve.
Exactly. But I mean, you know, people that never used to do, day in the life, or like watch me and my family holiday, or like reflections on this, like everyone is doing what they can to capture attention. And that is such a big changer. And like, it's a reflection of falling revenue. It's a reflection of the market conditions. It's a reflection of, you know, just the need to adapt and survive, basically.
Yeah.
And if I think of times where I was like super busy, I didn't have time to make content. I'll be honest with you, because I was servicing deals. I was closing partnerships. I was facilitating. I was designing training. I was building e-learning. I was all this kind of stuff. And then suddenly you're just servicing fewer deals and you are managing fewer partnerships. And it's like you're trying to get creative with how to win new business. And I have definitely seen people who like I thought were like past that stage getting on it.
Yo, you gotta adapt.
Do you know what I mean? Like
adapt
people who
die.
have like 6-figure followers, millions of followers, I was thinking are like comfortable 7-figure ARR are out there being like, watch me make my morning coffee. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like you're letting us into your life. Like, I guess, you know, people need to see something. So yeah, I think this is the year where every business owner
It's a content creator.
has become a content creator and has launched some kind of course or consulting.
Interesting. So
Like-
let's keep it real. The course and consulting piece is primarily because what do you think?
So what I think it is if you are someone who historically sold to businesses, let's say, businesses have been doing layoffs after layoffs. They have been looking for opportunities to cut anything. External suppliers, often the first to go.
Yeah.
Like, use myself as an example. Okay, yeah, we could hire you to do a training, or we could just not do the training, or just like make our own internal cheaper version and tick the box and say we did the training. So I think a lot of people are trying to monetize their followers instead of monetizing like businesses. So they're like, oh, well, I've got 5,000 followers on this page, 50,000 followers on the page. Let me just try and create like a direct to follower product, a direct to consumer product, whether that's giving up my time as a consultant. I've seen so many people launch intro pages.
That's me in the beginning of the year. I did that.
Intro.co, which is just like a profile you can set up, and people like Alexis Ohanian are on there, like super impressive people.
What is Intro, just quickly? So
Intro is a platform that allows you to sell your time as a consultant by setting up a very basic profile page, different packages, different payment plans, and people can browse, thousands of experts from across media, tech, people who have sold and exited 8, 9, 10 figure companies, people who've sat on boards, people who Nikita Beer is on there.
Yeah, but like he's making like, you can rent it for like 15K an hour, basically. It's crazy, but like some people are paying it.
Exactly. So, it's like expert advice with people who have done what you want to do. Essentially. So that's definitely like been a big learning for me as a founder. And I'm not going to pretend I'm excluded from that group of people. Like 1,000%. If you've been paying attention to anything that Hustle Crew's been doing, we've experimented with paid webinars. This is the first year that Play School wasn't 100% fully funded by us, but we actually like charged founders as well. Introducing like one-to-one coaching in that.
Play School is your accelerator, just to clarify.
Yeah, so Play School is like the accelerator that Hustle Crew runs for founders who value inclusion. And I've just been doing more coaching and consulting than I have done in previous years. And it's because before I was booked up, businesses were bringing me in, and this year businesses have spent less with us. So I've been looking for opportunities within the community.
You would say that the idea is to be scrappy, and if you were B2B, start looking for B2C opportunities. If you were B2C, you've got to start looking for B2B opportunities.
I think so.
This whole idea of let me just stay stagnant and the market is not allowing you to survive that way.
If you are still uncomfortable with self-promoting, you are going to die.
1,000%. Like, I mean, I said that one episode and you were like, man, like Michael, you're so harsh. When I was like, listen, if you're too scared to do this, that's your own fault. Like
capitalism got me. Capitalism got me. It all happens eventually.
I felt like a bully when I was like, listen, step up or stand out the way. That's what I was saying basically.
I really felt that with LinkedIn this year. Like if you can't beat them, join them.
1,000%.
And I really felt that with LinkedIn. Like there was a time where I was like, man, like what even is this post? Now I'm that post.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, be scrappy, content creator. Look for new markets, basically, and don't stagnate and die, basically. And everyone's a content creator. Yeah, I think those are kind of accurate reflections. I think on my end, in terms of reflections as a founder, it's a very good question. I think, similarly, I've just found new markets that I was hesitant to do before, like events. As a business, we've been very slow to do that. And now we're doing events, and we're getting a lot more inbound and demand for that. So
follow the money.
Follow the money. If you can find that paper trail, go after it, basically, right? And don't be afraid to change and uproot your business. I mean, there's that word pivot, right? But it's different when you experience it and it's not some intellectual concept. You've really got to move your business. And I had to do layoffs earlier in the year. And then ironically, this is the weird thing about capitalism. So I laid somebody off one time. Obviously, I really did not want to let them go. I actually became like, even though you don't want to say that you're a friend with your employee, because you really shouldn't, you should have a barrier there. I was like, I see this person as a friend deep down, basically. Now I've basically been able to kind of like slightly rehire them, you know what I'm saying? Because things have picked up again, right? So that's what kind of makes my heart feel warm a bit. Like I'm like, okay, I'm glad to like put money in your pocket and bring you back, because I didn't want to let you go, but I had no choice because it felt like we were suffocating at one point, right? So, and yeah, to be frank and transparent, like based on pivoting to new markets, based on leaning the team up a bit, like I've managed to like grow this year, like 100% from last year. That's what I'm saying? And I didn't think that'd be possible. And a lot of that was basically just being mad resourceful, going on LinkedIn, DMing the right people, not being shy, outbound. Because I think me and you probably were a bit spoiled in that kind of 2-year period where the inbound was crazy. How do you survive when inbound is quiet? You've got to go out there and hustle and outbound. Find the people on LinkedIn. Who's the right person? Who's the head of marketing? Who's the head of branding? Who's the head of hiring? DM them, pepper them with content, get them to follow you, like all kinds of stuff there. So yeah, there's that. So in terms of, we could do predictions, but one thing I want to say in terms of like a survival guide for next year, this year, the people who I've seen thrived as like regular employees in London, at least, are the people who work for a US based company because the money is different. So you sent me a link. Can we talk about it? The links that you sent me, the job post.
Hell yes, we can talk about it.
So Anthropic, which is the company behind Claude AI, which is actually personally my favorite AI. They're not sponsoring me for saying that.
Perplexity.
Perplexity is more of a Google killer. Claude is more of my best friend. I'm joking. Claude is basically more of a ChatGPT replacement.
Claude will be hosting the next episode with you.
Shout out to Claude. Holla at me, Anthropic. But basically, Claude is a prettier version of ChatGPT, and the model works better in my opinion. But anyways, they are hiring for like London-based roles here. So they're hiring in the US, they're hiring in London. Some of them salaries, bro, 300k. Oh yeah. 250, 400k.
Sales exec, not even like a management position.
So the way to survive really is you need to somehow tap into a US-based company where they can either pay you a close to US salary and you're based out of here, or potentially somehow have a remote role where you can move to a lower cost base, whether that's overseas or whatever. I mean, listen, obviously not everyone's privileged enough to make these moves. I'm just throwing what I've seen work out there, innit? Take it or leave it, innit? Basically, innit? Like, so there's that. Because obviously, besides that, there hasn't been wage growth for most people, and obviously cost of living has continued to rise. So how do you thrive in that environment? And these are the only things that I'm seeing for the regular average person to things. Is there anything that you're seeing out there, or
do you know what, it's interesting actually, because like I'll just like do a few little like community like shout outs from my side. Like Ben Lang, who used to lead community at Notion, and we've partnered with Notion through Techish, and I've partnered with Notion through Hustle Crew, has a community called Next Play. And it's also like a newsletter on Substack. And he actually lists all of the startups that are hiring for remote roles, which I think is pretty dope. But to your point, most of them are in the US. A lot of them are like Y Combinator backed. But I will say that. I also think this has been the year where people haven't like limited themselves in terms of opportunities. And this is where I actually wanted to shout out Abiola Babarinde of like Topicals, because she used to lead marketing at Hustle Crew. Went to set up her own agency. She wanted to be more focused on like beauty and fashion. She works with Kai Collective, Bianca Saunders, had been working with Topicals for a while, and was recently announced as their head of brand marketing. Dope. She's still going to retain a few of her company's clients, but she'll also be leading this incredible skincare brand that literally just raised Series A couple of years ago. I don't think they're available in the UK yet. Maybe like they are.
Topicals is a skincare brand, basically. Black-owned skincare brand, just to clarify. US-based.
But what I think is really cool is, again, being open to how your career unfolds. Like, yes, you can say, I'm going to double down on my business. I'm going to double down on my agency. But if an amazing brand wants to also bring you into their team and you can find a way to make it work, make it work. And I think there are a lot of people out there who are like, oh, I want to make the side hustle full time, but it's not quite turning out the numbers. It's no shame to like go from side hustle to full time back into side hustle, or whatever that looks like for you. So I think there's also like this adapt and survive mindset, not just for founders, but also for like tech professionals, because the industry is changing.
Absolutely. I think I'm done for reflections. I think one of my other reflections also is, obviously now I'm doing scout work as a VC. I'd never done that before. I'd never invested, even an angel investment. I always felt like I'd rather put my own money into my own company than give it to somebody else, basically. Or if I'm going to do that, I'd rather give it to like, you know, Tim Cook or Tim Apple, you know what I'm saying? And go make me money in the stock market. But anyway, so doing the scout work, you know, I've got a lot of pitches. I've seen a lot of founders. Yeah. I've invested in two. I've invested in Dermy, which is something that you've invested in, which is a great skincare, you know, AI detection software. And then I've also invested in Trustly, which is software for black hairstylists. Yeah. And I'll talk about Trustly, give them a shout out. They had recently, they had their gala, which is like an award show they do for the hairstylists that use their platform. They've done so much with so little kind of VC or any raising. I think I'm the only person that's invested in them so far, and it's not an amazing amount, but have basically survived on grants, you know, getting a beta, charging customers, doing their award show, getting sponsorship, just scrappy. Do you know what I'm saying? And then I get founders who tell me, if you don't give me this money, I'm not starting this company, or I can't do anything. And I'm like, guys, wrong mindset. And it's the last thing that makes me want to sign a check, because I'm like, I want to jump on a moving train. I don't want to jump on a train that I'm the, you know, conductor. Like, I got my own problems. Like, make something happen, innit? So yeah, shout out to those founders for being scrappy. And then going back, sorry, this is what came to mind. I completely forgot about this in terms of reflections. Back to the office.
It's like Amazon was one of the companies that was like mandatory return to office.
Yeah, so Amazon did it slowly but surely. It went from like 3 days to 4 days. Now it's mandatory 5 days back in the office. Is that a trend that you see holding, or is it like people have had a taste of remote? It's never going to go back to the old world. You don't think so? I
mean, I don't know. Like, I have a very London-centric view, and I see it in real life when I commute to the city, like Bank, for example.
People outside.
where my co-working space is, and it's like Mondays and Fridays are dead. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yes, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. I will say though, Mondays are getting busier. Like, I took the gym on Monday and I was like, okay, a lot of people. Do you know what it is? It's layoff season, and people are showing up.
Yeah.
People are like,
camera
first
on
one
and
in the
showing up.
office, box of donuts. Hey guys, like,
Yeah.
I made some brownies for you. Like, I think I don't know. Economic conditions are definitely like driving some of these like work from home attitudes back to the office. And we were talking about it in the podcast the other day, right? Like, it's cameras on season.
Camera on season. Hello, sir. I'm ready. No virtual background. I'm at
God,
home.
it's so sad. Like, these, like, the power dynamics, employer to employee. Like, I mean, who knows, man? Who knows?
I think, in this sort of kind of recessionary downturn environment, the remote work thing it's on pause for most of the major companies, because they know that working at Amazon, working at Apple is enough cachet, enough enough of a claim to fame that people are going to say, oh, I'll do whatever it takes.
But Spotify came out, the chief HR person, Katrina Berg, who I've actually interviewed before on like other tech events, saying like, our employees are not children. We're not like changing our work from home policy.
Yeah.
Like, we trust them to do what they want. So it's sometimes hard to know how much of it is just like media grabbing on a bit of a clickbaity headline versus reality. And I'd like genuinely be interested to hear from like listeners on this. Like, we're founders and we run our own teams, but is it real? Like, is that a real pressure? Like, do people feel the need to like really show up more, and are they being pressured to show up more, or is it just like a handful of companies? And for the most part, things are the same as they were 6 months ago.
I think we're in a little startup bubble where a lot of people are remote, but I think most of my friends who work with big corporations, they're in the office most of the time, right? And the remote thing is now almost like how it was before, where like if you're a top performer, they might allow you, but like generally speaking,
or like discretionary basis. But then it's so unequitable, and I really hate that, because it's like, talk about blogger to inclusion. You should have a consistent and transparent working from home policy. Otherwise, it's just open to abuse, and there could be people who genuinely need that flexibility, whether it's from an accessibility perspective or a caregiver perspective or whatever, who, because they have the luck of being on the team of a manager who hates people who are working from home, doesn't have that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think closing thoughts. I think my closing thought is do what you can with what you have at your disposal at that current moment. And
this is like your 2025 guidance.
2025 guidance.
Put
basically.
it on a mug.
You can't start your startup because you ain't got funding. Do the most basic version. You can't find that job. Just do what you can with what you have. I know the job hunting thing, maybe that doesn't apply as much, but it's just scrappy season, isn't it? And I find myself getting mad scrappy this year, and I'm going to continue that ethos.
I definitely think it's, if you're someone who's been like unemployed for a while now, it's also probably important to like be like open to a new narrative about your career, because I think a lot of people like, I've been laid off literally twice, so I know what it's like. You want something that's like as close to what you had before in terms of titles, rank, all that kind of stuff.
Pay even?
Pay, of course.
Interesting.
But
controversial.
You're always more employable in a job than outside of a job. And if it's been like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, you really need to start getting creative. Like, you either need to start consulting, even if a lot of that consulting is pro bono, right? You need to start volunteering in like sectors that you care about.
People are going to hate us for this.
Look,
what you're saying right now.
I know, but this is the thing. When the market starts to pick up, the most attractive candidates are the ones who have a really good story to tell about what they were doing. And if you're the person who is like, I just kept getting rejected, it's going to tell me a lot about your mindset. But if you're the person who's just like, look, I recognize the privilege I had as someone with skills, as someone with time, and I like went back to my old university and like supported like the little business network, or I went back to my old school and did that, or I literally just like went to my local library and like ran a friggin' CSS workshop for anyone who showed up. Like, I don't know, like showing that entrepreneurial mindset, even if you're not interested in being an entrepreneur, it's going to give you a story to tell that could then like leapfrog you back into like that level that you were at before. Yeah,
I agree. I just think we're so entrepreneurial that we have no qualms in like taking a risk and doing something for free and seeing how it turns out. Whereas, if you're used to just like, I work, I get paid, that's a hard mindset shift to make. So I understand why they be pushed back against it, but I agree with you. What choice do you have?
Go on Upwork, go on Fiverr, like go on Intro.co, like stay busy. Do
you know what? So I'll save you from the controversies. I'll say something even more controversial than that one, which is basically, do not put the open to work thing on your LinkedIn. Please don't do that.
Oh my lord!
This sounds like we're bullying people that are unemployed. Wow. Please, I'm saying this as a favor to you. Please, yeah. It's not the end of the world. Don't get it twisted in it. But human psychology is such that you want somebody who's in demand. And when you give that open to work energy with that thing there, A, it doesn't necessarily help you. B, it's just something. Don't, Abadesi, stop laughing. Please, this is so bad. I am not clipping this up. I'm not clipping this up for the clip. We're gonna get killed.
No, but you know, there's one that like it's like actually says desperate. Have you seen that one?
No. I'm not involved. It doesn't say desperate. It says basically that
there is one though. Someone made a new one.
That's like when
you've been open to work.
Yeah. The thing is, the reason why I say it is that if that feature gave you any benefits on the platform in terms of like you're able to apply to work, higher visibility, I would say do it. It doesn't. So your profile, my profile, if I have it, we're still the same. We're both applying to work. Do you know what I'm saying? All it's meant to do is be a flag sign up saying, oh, if you are hiring, holler at me. But the reality is most people want to reach out to somebody who
feels like a highly valuable asset, top talent. And there is an assumption that if you're open to work, it's because you are like not as talented as other people who are still on your team.
But then the thing is, we all know that's wrong and it's the wrong mindset. But when we're competing in this world, we are looking for opportunities in a cold, evil world. And people have those regressive mindsets, but unfortunately sometimes they're in charge of who gets hired. So don't allow yourself to fall victim to that. So if you do have that, I would recommend not having that on there. Stay acting like you're busy and just apply to roles. In
theory, everyone is open to work, right?
Absolutely.
Like, it's capitalism. It's a job market. In
Unless
theory,
you're retired, you're open to work.
But you know what I mean? The reason you're on LinkedIn is because you're seeking opportunities, whether you have an opportunity or not. So I feel like it's a given. It's like if you're on a dating app, you're on the dating app. You don't need to put like hashtag single. Do you know what I mean? But like, you know, so I think there's like, it's like a basic lesson in economics. You know, we talked about signaling
and psychology,
and it's like what do people infer from the signals that you send, and what assumptions will people make, and what conclusions will people jump to. And unfortunately, when it comes to, you know, I've seen posts as well where people are like, you know, oh, I keep getting rejected, I keep getting this. People are going to jump to the conclusion that you're like a pessimistic person as opposed to an optimistic person. You know, my husband and I actually ended up in a debate about this because there was a post that went viral on LinkedIn. It was a man in America who was like, if I don't get a job, my wife and kids and I will lose our home. Will someone hire me, please?
Right.
And we kind of talked about this because I was like, does that make you want to hire someone? Like, why are you in a situation where you're about to be homeless?
No, I would. That to me, I think that's actually the thing about certain tactics.
Because
and
it's a
certain
bit emotionally blackmail-y vibes.
It is at the same time, but at the same time, that can pull at someone's heartstrings and potentially get you a job because most people are not that vulnerable and most people are not that transparent. So kudos to that person. Personally, that doesn't offend me. If someone's like, please, I need a role, who might be a bit soft-hearted would be like, all right, cool, let me see if I can find you something, right? Which I probably shouldn't say vocally because now I might get inbound.
You're gonna get a lot of
sub stories, my inbox like, yo, please, like my dog died, whatever.
I'm here. I am. I'm trying to redeem you.
Yeah,
but then to redeem your open to work.
But also the you can easily end up in that situation, especially in America, especially in that kind of hyper-capitalist system where there's no benefits, there's no social safety net, really and truly. So I would know and see that and be like, that's not the fault of the person necessarily, because you could easily just get a house, have a great job, and then get laid off. And you look for a year, and then after that, you're like, okay, I've got savings, but there's a point where I don't have that much savings, right? So, I think it might be effective, but
so what's the difference between that and open to work then?
Because the thing is that he's obviously being much more vulnerable and explaining the narrative, and human beings relate to narrative. But when you just got that open to work, I just don't think it hits the same. You're right, I can't logically explain it, but when you see enough of those profiles, you're like, I don't think this necessarily is working.
I personally think, again, this is based on my experience, and I know I'm speaking with a lot of privilege here. Like that's
this whole episode would be terrible, but anyways, go on.
You know, whatever, LSE education, la la la. But I like really think that like you should always be employed in some capacity, even if the way that in which you are employed is like projects that you have invented to keep yourself busy, because that gives you something to talk about. And that's been the approach that I've taken.
I think you should try to be intentional with your time. So if you are laid off, maybe you're on sababbatical. So that might be a time when you're not working, but that's intentional.
Yes, definitely rest. Rest is important.
Rest is important, yeah.
Like if you're burned out, take what you need.
Yeah. Like I knew somebody who was looking for like a software engineering gig for like 2 years as an entry level. And I'm like, what have you been doing with these 2 years? They're like a super young person that I know through family. So they're kind of like a cousin of mine. And so I could be very forthright with them. So I was like, what have you been doing? Oh, I've been looking online, but then, I've been chilling. I'm like, man, that's not good enough, bro. You could have gone,
especially as an engineer.
What have you built? You could have gone to a local business. Let me build you a website, whatever. Like, come on, man. Let's stop sticking around. Like, but obviously, I'm not talking about, in this macro environment, there's a lot of people struggling through no fault of their own and whatever. We've got to put that proviso in because obviously we could get cooked for this episode. But anyways, we'll leave it that. That's our
Michael's hiring.
Raw and real episode. I'm not hiring. No sob stories, please.
He's also writing checks, so
we'll catch you soon. At Techish Pod on YouTube, at Techish Pod on Instagram.
Yeah, who's gonna be our 10,000th YouTube subscriber?
I mean, we can get to 1,000 first, please. All right, cool. Peace. Bye. That was a funny episode.